All right, well, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin.
My name is Tarsha.
And we're going to work on this intro. All right, but this is Conversation with the Crawleys, the YouTube channel that we have together dedicated to us having conversations about faith, family, and everything else in between. And we're right now today talking about one of our favorite shows, Married at First Sight. We're doing a combination of the two reunion specials we missed last week. We were in Vegas hanging out for our 25th anniversary. Woohoo on that. But we wanted to make sure that we kind of covered everything in there. And it looks like we get another episode next week, but we'll talk about that.
Right.
They're dragging the season out, y'all. All right. But anyway, if this is content that you like, if this is content that you enjoy and you like hanging out with us, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Hit the like and request notifications. And then also hit us up in the comments. We definitely interact and engage with you all in the comment section. All right. So to kind of catch up with the first reunion special,
part one.
Part one. Just real quick, we'll kind of give our thoughts on it. But Erik and Virginia, he recognized that he kind of came off a little wrong and is working on it. So shout out to that, because I think we all agree that there was. I'm a little better about them maybe lasting a little.
I think it's a work in progress.
Right.
And I think that's what we say about marriage anyway. You're two different people, you're coming together. And now that you're married and living with someone, you have to learn how to compromise.
Right.
What you were so set on in your thought process and ways of marriage, it has to actually involve when you're actually have a relationship.
Right.
So I think he's going to learn from it. Their love will continue to grow and I think they'll be okay.
Yeah. We're still not convinced that he's allergic to cats.
Yeah. Even Virginia was saying that because it took a couple of days before he really needed allergy medicine. Right. But they made a compromise. The cats are in the other room. Right. So they're not actually sleeping with them. I'm not a big pets sleeping with me deal either. So because that's my... that's what I prefer. Right. But I think they made a good balance in deciding that she would have a room and the cats would be in there.
Yeah, because I'm just going to say, in the words of Jay-Z, you need more people. We don't believe you. Sorry. I don't think he's allergic. I think he just didn't want to deal with the cats. And so all of a sudden he sneezes every now and then just to make it seem like he's allergic. All right. But that was pretty much their thing as far as the first, the part one. Right. Ryan and Clara, they do come on. I'm proud to say I'm glad that Ryan let go of that struggle beard. Listen,
the mustache is working for Ryan.
It works for him. It fits his
personality.
I wouldn't wear it personally, but that's me. I'm not that kind of a guy. But that beard was it was struggling. I was like, dude,
there's a lot of men that struggle. There's a beard struggle out there.
There is.
It takes a while. And you had to learn how to it's a whole deal, right? You got to condition it,
Scotch
keep it from
Porter,
dry.
hit me up if you all want to be a sponsor of this. I would definitely do a deal for Scotch Porter. Shout out to Scotch Porter. All right. They even are doing a renewal ceremony, so I think that they're moving forward well. I think that towards the end we were like, you know what? I think that they're going to make it.
Well, yeah, because obviously the way they tape and everything, you put what the struggle is the most, and they put very intense on there. Yeah. And I think, as the experts stated as well, they had to be able to voice what they weren't getting. And I think a lot of times in marriage, people don't voice what they want or what they need out of the significant other. When you get married a long time, you get to the point where either you're going to voice that or a lot of times it don't last. So,
and at the taping, Kevin did finally put him on the spot. Kevin, the host of the reunion special, did kind of put him on the spot and was like, do you love this woman? And so he finally did say, I think I do love her. So
yeah. And I think that's good, right? I mean, I think I understand his perspective. He didn't want it just to come off cliche-ish or anything. When you say this word, you're like, oh my God, I just said I love you. I think it's like a fleeting thought. I know for me, it wasn't like, I'm going to finally tell you I love you. Yeah. It just came to mind like, I love you. It was like, I made a choice and then it was just like, I just said it like, oh my God.
Exactly.
I made a choice to love you. So.
Yeah. You love me.
I do love you.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Let's get that settled. All right. It didn't take somebody coming on and asking me if I did. All right.
No.
And they were coy about whether they consummated because, that was the other big thing throughout the season.
Yes. Because I was like, girl, please don't be in a relationship.
I'm pretty sure they have by now.
Oh, yeah.
And I respect the fact that they're like, look, we don't need to broadcast when we actually did it. I'm comfortable now with the fact that at least...
Oh, you're comfortable now? It's off your plate?
On behalf of Clara that at least she's not having this whole issue. Well, she was having issues with it.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's important for people when they even decide to marry someone they've met or been in a relationship 2 years, 3 years, 6 months or whatever. You are taking a risk when you're marrying this person because you don't know what they're saying is true or not,
right.
And I think that's what's the scary part of the unknown.
Right.
And so when we're looking at this is what she keeps talking about, I'm like, if you really feel like this is not going to go further, then you're going to have to make a decision if you're going to stay married or not.
Exactly. And then the couple that we were like, look, from day one, we're like, they're going to stay together.
Yeah.
Briana and Vincent. They're still learning to compromise, which I think no matter how long you've been married, you learn how to compromise.
Partnership, yeah.
We're 25 years in, and there's still things that we have to figure out how we're compromising on and how to make decisions together, all of that stuff.
Yep.
So they're moving forward. They're actually looking at buying a condo together, and it looks like in the next episode, which is like an after reunion special type thing, it looks like they do some house shopping. So kudos to them. I think that they're going to be a successful couple.
Yeah. I think they should just pace themselves, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a lot being taped. I could imagine being taped all the time. Sometimes I don't even like being on social media all the time. Right. So that's just stressful in itself.
Yeah. All right. And then, there were some things with the ladies, just a couple of things that came out with the ladies was that Jacob has blocked Haley, it looks like, on social media, which it's not surprising.
Well, I wouldn't say... I know they're calling it block, but he may have unfollowed her.
That's possible.
And, maybe not connected to the social media because it's not like I don't see her stalking him or looking for him. True. So it probably should have been more like unfollow.
But she felt some kind of way about it, if you're honest. She felt some kind of way because she brings it up, right? Think about it. There are folks who on social media who I know have blocked me, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Or who have unfollowed me, and because I don't interact or I don't care, I don't care. So
I don't understand why she cared. If she felt like he did all this and he didn't participate, then go on with your life like you planned to do, or based off of what we heard from Jacob when they were taping, she wasn't there. Right. So why would you care?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, and then the couple that just ate up so much of our time and effort.
Well, I want to say as a couple, it was Chris.
Yes, it was Chris.
It was Chris. And I think that Paige's friend said it best. Mm-hmm. You need to...
hold on. We got to talk about what happened last week.
Okay.
First.
Okay.
All right, come on.
All right. I'm ready.
Yeah, I know you're ready to jump
all in it. All right, deep in.
Listen, as far as Paige and Chris, a couple of things that she made a statement of that I took note of. She said that she had a wedding and a funeral the same day.
Yeah.
That's a major statement.
I think that's because you have to grieve your expectation. You have to grieve the dream of being married. There's a lot that she was happy about, and then she lost it all. And, I wouldn't say over a day. I believe over the weeks. Because when she first got married, I get her concept of what she's saying, but when she first got married, she had great hopes, and it seemed like it was going to be fine.
But within 2 days, because we're talking about within 2 days, he has this panic attack or what have you.
Correct.
And then he's talking about how he's got this other woman pregnant.
Correct.
So really, yes, it's not the same day per se.
Right.
But it is within a very short time. She goes from this high of I'm getting married.
Right.
I'm married. To this low of what in the world did I step into?
Right. But you know what? Her relationship may be not as far-fetched, as meaning that there's women that go through this. There are women that go through it where they meet someone, they start a relationship, and then they find out that this person that they're dating has got a child on the way. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
not within 2 days of meeting though.
Well, because of their situations different. Obviously, their situations different.
I know.
But you get what I'm getting at.
I get, yes.
There's people who are facing this situation.
True.
Because
they just have a little more time to kind of go through the build up and the let down of it.
Right.
I get that.
Exactly. Right. So.
And then we see Chris is giving very made for TV, very scripted, very polished answers. Even Kevin calls him out on that. They did go through some counseling.
Yes,
together. They were even thinking about moving in together.
Supposedly, I don't know how clear that was. That didn't seem very clear to me. You know, because I feel like Chris could say a lot of stuff in it.
True. And then the question of the car came up, and did Mercedes still have the car? And Chris did not want to address that in front of Paige. I guess to save Paige the hurt or the pain of knowing whether this woman still has a Mercedes.
Who cares? They're not going to be together anymore.
The question came up, why did it have to be a Mercedes? Couldn't it have been a Toyota? Couldn't it have been a Volkswagen?
Well, part one, he did indicate it could have been any car, but you didn't give her any car.
Right.
You indicated that your future kids had to be in the back. Right. In the best items. So.
Then they said, now this is the part that I'm like, okay, this is the part that the producers, in my opinion, set up drama.
Oh, it was, yes.
It was literally, let's talk about this. And then, by the way, here's Pastor Dwight.
Right. So they bring in, who's not his pastor. He says spiritual advisor.
Although I don't know that that's the way it was presented. We'll have to go back and watch. But I think that the way it was presented at first was that.
Originally it was.
Right.
But then by the time he got to the wedding and afterwards he kept showing up, he became a spiritual advisor.
Right.
And not his actual pastor.
And just a friend.
Right. So.
Say he's just a friend.
Listen. Not anymore. Because, they get into it and, Chris is going to do all this as he runs away.
Yeah, Chris does a lot of barking and running.
I'm like...
He barks a lot and runs a lot.
I'm like, if you're going to face someone, or at the same time, it's like, okay, let's stop taping. I need a moment. Always after the fact, we realize we should have did something better.
Right.
And I think that's where he may want to start is like, okay, how can I keep from being triggered? Mm-hmm. How can I make sure that I don't allow my temper to get in the way of what someone else is saying? Absolutely. And everyone has to learn how to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's easy at any place, depending on how long you've allowed this to go on. This is something from your childhood, whatever, mm-hmm. But I think that hopefully, I'm hoping that Chris gets the help he's at. I think we've always said that. I think when we talk about couples or anyone who decides to put themselves on display, mm-hmm.
We
try to make sure we humanize them and that everyone deserves help.
Yeah. So Paige, basically he comes back in the second portion of the of the reunion.
They ask him to come back, and he does.
He says that Dwight was talking down to him. I just think he didn't care for what Dwight had to say.
Right.
I didn't get that he was talking down. He was basically just saying, this is my experience with him.
Right.
He does not like correction. He does not like being told,
Right.
And so Chris admits that he has a lot of growing to do. Sure. So then they dismiss him and let Paige be by herself for a moment to kind of have the conversation. And she talks about how she was robbed. This was a traumatic experience for her.
Right.
And then one of the things that I think she at least tried to make or help us to understand was the fact she said that she's not weak-willed and she's not a desperate woman, but she was trying to hold on to vows. Mm-hmm. So I think for her, this whole thing was she was committed to the process. And I think we've been very clear. I think that's been very clear to us is that she was very committed to the process. Yes. She was very much so.
Yes.
She's in this for the long haul.
Right.
And granted, in our marriage and in any marriage, you would think that there is not the just going away after the first issue, right?
Right.
Now, what makes this different is that the first issue was almost the same day you all got married.
Right.
So therefore, there is like, I don't know if I can, if there's enough foundation to hold on to in the midst of all of this story.
Right. Because we talked about making sure that you understand what you're taking as a vow.
Right.
But when you're being emotionally abused, looking at that in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think we were really trying to say, okay, you've given a person several attempts.
Right.
And because it's coming so back to back, you can't recover to see them to try to even grow.
Right.
Because you're like, I'm just meeting you. This is happening. Then you're going to say, okay, I'm going to get better. So it's like, okay, I'm trying because I don't know you, but I'm trying to give you the benefit of doubt. Right. And then something else happens. Right. And then something else happens. And so, she's trying to work through it, but it's like at the same time, you want to say, there's too many red flags to indicate that he can even recover quick enough to not hurt you.
Because it becomes a question then, in my opinion, of, is this a isolated incident or is this your normal?
That's who you are, right?
Is this who you are all the time,
right?
Or is this just an unfortunate coincidence and circumstance? Right. And because it was happening with everything, there were so many things that were coming up as far as red flags. It was like, okay, this is who you are.
You don't show, but I think also we were trying to broaden that because we see so many believers who say, I made a commitment to God. This is my soulmate. And they are being abused on a lot of levels. Like they're being physically abused, emotionally abused, and they're sticking in there. Now, have there been cases when people have recovered their marriage and there's no more abuse? Yes,
absolutely.
It has happened, but the percentage of that has been very low.
And when it has happened, it has been because of intervention. It has been because of maybe they do separate for a time and work on themselves individually as they work on themselves as a couple, and then have the ability to come back as a couple with the maturity and with the growth that was needed. In this situation, again, I don't know how much interaction. We didn't see a lot of interaction. We saw some interaction, yes, with the experts, absolutely. Right. But I don't know that there was the interaction that was needed to give this, to allow it to have the success that it might have had if they both, again, and I think the key word there is both. Both were willing to. I don't think
even if the expert had more time with them, because if Chris is not really showing his authentic self.
And that's why I said both, yes.
But he continues to have this facade of who he believes he is and projects.
Right. That's the word right there, is the projection. He projects an image that does not match up with what he presents.
Right.
Projection versus, that might be a message. Projection versus presentation.
Right. It's two different things. And I think the experts said it too, because when they were choosing them, because they were like, let us clean up.
Right.
I guess you're going to talk about that later.
Yeah. Right. All right. So then Paige's bridesmaid comes on, Nancy. And,
are we in part two? Because that was part two.
Yeah, that's part two. We're in part two. We've been in part two since we talked about Paige being by herself. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe could have brought up what the expert said.
All right. Well, anyway, y'all can see we just filmed this straight. So let us know what you think in the comments. But yes, Paige's friend Nancy comes out, and she says she knew from the wedding when Chris made his trophy wife statement.
Right. Well, she knew that there was some red flags. Right. Again, they're just meeting him. It's not like, everybody's friends and hanging out, and then you could tell a girl this brother got red flags.
Right.
So
yeah, so she was like, you know what, I knew, but she was like, I didn't want to spoil my friend's day. And again, we're just like you said, we're just meeting. So, but she made this statement that I was like, okay, that's the quote of this episode. She said, Chris is the epitome of why Black mental health matters. And I think we've been saying that throughout this series, is that mental health is a key thing that, especially in the African American community, we've got to make sure that we are taken advantage of, and that we are not delegitimizing it, or what's the other word I'm looking for? We are not pushing it to the side and trivializing it. That Black mental health, it does matter.
Yeah.
And for Paige, I think she's got a healthy approach, as far as we know. She has two therapists, I think.
That's what she indicates. And I think it's going to take time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're in low income communities, we're working jobs where we barely have health care, let alone trying to get mental health care, you know? So there's a ways for us to go. I think we need to continue the conversations. I think it's good that it unfortunately had to be highlighted in this show, but she's correct. Black men's mental health, women, it's just, we have to continue to make sure we're talking to someone.
Absolutely. All right. And then Haley and Jacob come out, and they are still, to this day, awkward.
And was it Kenny? Is it Kenny? Kevin. He says it too. He goes like, this was an awkward couple. I don't remember hearing what the experts were thinking when they were matching them together again.
They said that they said that this was the one that they were hoping that opposites would attract. They were hoping that his quirkiness and who he was would kind of pull her out of her shell. So they were. So it's great in theory. There are some couples where opposites attract. I think these were so polar opposites. These were so on two different ends of the spectrum.
Right.
And I think that their inflexibility.
That's a good word for it.
To make adjustments and to open up and get beyond what happened yesterday, right? In a marriage, you have to sometimes allow what happened yesterday to stay yesterday and see how can we move forward. And because they had so many bad yesterdays, they could not move past the yesterday and find the future. Right.
That's a good way to put it. I agree with that.
Now, Haley, who has been the proverbial bridesmaid, the question came up, and after decision day, she's been in 2 more weddings.
I wouldn't do it. I would not be another bridesmaid. I don't know. It's just me. I just feel like, you know what? I feel like it's a sympathy invite. I do. Like, oh, your marriage didn't work out. I'm going to make you a bridesmaid. I was like, I would at least give this person time off. Like, you're about to go through a divorce. Your marriage didn't work. And then I'm going to invite you to be my bridesmaid. Right. Why don't I just invite you to the wedding? If you come, you come. But
it is,
that would be awkward.
I look at and I think of, I've only been in 1 or 2 other guys' weddings.
I have not been in anyone's wedding.
But I my circle of friends is pretty, I don't have a circle
tight.
Of friends that are like 20, 30 deep.
Right.
Now, people I'm acquainted with and people that I know what have you. Right. But then also, granted, around the same time we were getting married, other people were getting married, or we met people who were married after the fact, right? After we got married. Right. So, but it's just, there's still some things as far as miscommunication with them. And even when, I'm doing this a lot. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
All right. But even when they're sitting there talking, I love Jake's honesty and sarcasm.
I do too, because he was very direct.
Yeah.
And I feel like he did not miscommunicate when it came to being very serious about his feelings and what he wanted, what he wasn't getting from her, what he needed from her. I think those parts he was really serious about. And I don't understand where she couldn't figure out where he wasn't trying, because I see moments where he does have he is disconnected. And I was like, oh, okay, I see a little bit what you're talking about. But when I'm hearing that you won't share the same bed when he's respectful.
And when the experts have said to try and spark that intimacy, say, I think it was like have a good night hug or a good night kiss.
Or hold hands was one of the things.
That was the thing. And so even Dr. Pepper was like, she's very cold. She's very standoffish. There's a lack or a problem with intimacy on the part of Haley. And so, there was this whole thing about Haley saying that Jacob wasn't trying, and Jacob was like, but I did.
Right.
And I think we saw enough. I think from our point of view, we saw enough there where Jacob was making an attempt.
Right.
As maybe awkward as he is, as straightforward and sarcastic or as he can be, I think he in his own way still made an attempt.
Oh, I feel like
I don't know that Haley made the attempt.
I feel like the expert said, in her perspective, she felt like she tried.
Right.
But that means also being uncomfortable doing something that's like holding hands. If you don't normally hold hands, then okay, I'm willing to try to do this. So then she did hold hands. I'm not going to say she did. She held the hands, but then it was like, give a first kiss.
Yeah. And like, no, I'm good with the holding hands.
Right. So it was like, okay, you that would be an effort.
Right.
That you would list that as an effort. I hold his hand.
Right.
But it's more than about holding the hand. It's about finding. This is where the connection she was looking for. This is where you find the connection.
Because it's like, there's this whole side of, it's almost like, do I have to?
Right.
That's the impression that was like, okay, fine. They said I got to hold your hand, so.
Right. Give me a hand. Okay.
We're holding hands. So it doesn't do anything, right? And so I and then the bracelet gate came up again.
Yes. And what Jacob's looking is for validation of what he's thinking.
Right.
Like, this can't just be in my head. Right. Like, why didn't you say, if you just say you don't like it, we would have got you something else.
We could have gone to the store and gotten you something else. But the fact that it's with your mom in a different state.
Right. Means you don't like it.
Right.
Because anything you like, you wear.
And you don't even value or acknowledge the idea that I was doing. Right. We've given bad gifts to each other. Right. Like, this could have been better. Right.
Right.
And then we talk about it.
Right.
And but it's still like, if it's something I still have, it's still in the same house.
You didn't send it to your mother's house.
I didn't send it to my mom's house. I didn't give it to one of my friends. It's here. Right. So I think that's what Jacob was saying. I think that Kevin and I think that how it was presented, I think they still misconstrued the issue for Jacob, which was not about the gift. It was not that he wanted to give back. He was saying, I gave this to you.
I need you to
acknowledge. You didn't acknowledge it.
You didn't acknowledge, and you didn't acknowledge you didn't like it. Just say, it's okay. What he was trying to say, it's okay if you didn't like it. I would have loved to taking you, and you picked out because I didn't know you. I didn't know what you would like. Yep. I thought it was nice. It was infinity. It was in, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So order wear because wow, this is the first thing my husband gave me.
Right.
This is something I'm going to treasure because you gave it to me.
Right.
Not because I really like it.
Right.
It was just given to me.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was a little bit more argumentative on Jacob's perspective. And I almost felt like I wanted to defend Jacob because I felt like Kevin was coming for him. And I was like, no, this is not what's going on. Yeah. Now, did he say it over and over? Yeah, because he's trying to get her to see, am I losing my mind? But I really feel this perspective. You told me this. You're doing this while we're not taping. Why won't you acknowledge it? Why are you trying to put it all on me and take no responsibility?
Right. And then they tried to bring up, who was it? Doug and Jamie, the very first season of Married at First Sight.
I was thinking that's disrespectful.
Yeah, because it's a completely different situation.
Different situation.
Yes, you could point out, you can make the connection because both women were not necessarily attracted to the husband. But Jamie at least was like, even after her episode of crying on the floor and what have you, if I remember that season correctly, she at least still put in some effort to say, okay, let me figure out why. She did not cut him off. She did not, and so that's just me. All right. And then all the guys are talking. Nothing really major, in my opinion, came out from that. Just kind of point.
Nothing came out major from the guys, the group guys.
The group talking. I mean, to me, it was just the same kind of stuff. But what did you pick out from it?
I feel like in their connection, it's funny how men communicate versus women can communicate.
Okay.
And so I feel like the way they communicate through text, they found out about each other, okay, he's the funny guy. He's the one that keeps us balanced, he's the one that's giving advice. I think for them, their connection was more so of, I'm glad we're together because our wives connected. Right. And I think they were really trying to bounce off what was good with all of the guys in their marriages. Like for Vince, they brought out, how romantic he was
Vince
with
does
his
got
wife.
Some game. I give it.
He was showing. He was just so. It's funny. He was just so overjoyed that he found his wife, And it was like all these
little,
right, and all these little gifts and different things he was trying to show how much he was caring about her.
Right.
And then some of the guys like, yeah, we were following behind you. I think having a group of friends, and I think this is sometimes where couples need, where they need to be around other couples.
True.
So that helps to gives you that energy, like, this is the reason why we got married. This is why we spend time together. This is how we have fun together. Yep. You know, it helps to really reunite something in other couples.
Okay.
See?
All right. So you got something out of it.
Awesome. Hope you got something out of it.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever.
All right. And then all the experts talk, and of course they're happy with the successes.
Yeah. I would be like stuck on every time I messed up for somebody. Right. It's a lot of pressure.
And as we mentioned, they were hoping that Haley and Jacob did work together as far as being opposites and attracting to each other.
Yeah.
But the other thing that seemed to happen was that they kind of recognized that Chris had one way that he presented, and then they were very disappointed. I think we were all disappointed. I still think that there needs to be maybe an increase in their vetting process.
Well, and Pastor Kyle, he did kind of see
he said he saw some things, but I guess he didn't. It wasn't enough to be a real red flag for him.
Right, and I think it may take a little bit more time. Because my question would be to them, and I don't think anyone's mentioned it. It's like, okay, after your failures throughout the season, how do you readjust how you evaluate homes? Because they do go to their homes.
Yeah.
They have these conversations. So my question would have been to the experts to say, now that you've had this season, how are you going to plan to adjustments to make when you're picking other couples for this series?
Yeah.
How much do you talk to production about how this is presented? You know, because I think that's another thing. When you stir the pot in some ways, and they might be just egging it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, you're that person, but I'm pushing you towards this edge to see what I can get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, I think that they have made some adjustments. If you think back to when they first started, there is a lot more of building this community of couples. So now it looks like they're all staying in the same apartment complex. So now they don't have to go through the hassle of trying to figure out where they're going to live, what have you. For the experiment, they're going to live in an area that they all are, and then also they're accessible to each other as couples. So I think that they've taken some of those things that maybe they found as far as could be useful and done that.
It's easy for production.
True. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
We're all in the same place.
Maybe they're trying.
You know, when I have to tape,
that is true.
I'm all there. So I mean,
have the cameras already set up in the apartment when they move. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, I think there's a balancing act when we look at reality TV.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's about making money and entertainment. And people are using their lives to say, I want to find something real in a reality that may not all be, you know, because they cut, they leave it on the editor floor. I'm going to do more moving my hands than you.
Hey.
And, you know, and so I try to keep that perspective when we're looking at this.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I was just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's just me. All right. So, you know, and then, of course, all the couples come together with the exception of Chris. Chris, again, has barked and then ran. And so, unfortunate, again, because if you sign up for the process, you sign up for the process. And if you are authentic, good or bad. They, you know, we see kind of where things are lying with them, and that the couples that are still together are moving forward. They're still looking to continue to improve.
Right.
And then we start to see that next week we're going to have another episode.
Yeah.
Like we kind of talked about. So,
I be like, I'm tired of y'all. I want y'all in my life. So it's interesting that this group allows them to continue, and you get to see Jacob.
Yes.
And you get to see Paige actually date.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know how to feel about it. I'm like, I know she needs her time to heal.
Right.
And it's good to get out and date, but at the same time, I'm like, I just been through a whole lot.
For Jacob, I'm okay with him, you know, continue to explore and see what else is out there, what have you. For Paige, because of everything that happened, because of how, in my opinion, traumatic it was, and even what she said, it was traumatic, right? I think that there needs to be a time of healing. And even her friend, Nancy, the bridesmaid, what have you, said that she's going to need time to heal. And the person that she does, work with next, or date next, or what have you, get into a relationship with, they're going to have to also help her navigate through kind of recovering from the experience that she's had. So so we'll see that. We'll be here again for that. And then it looks like Married at First Sight Houston. So make sure you are subscribing, because we are going to be covering that one as well.
Everybody been in Houston lately.
Yeah.
If you watch Ready to Love, they've been.
By the way, in the top here, you'll see the card for Ready to Love. That's the other show that we are doing right now. And then we've got some other shows coming up pretty soon that we will be doing reviews and recaps on. Anything else for this show right now?
No.
All right. Well, that's it for today. We thank you all for watching. Make sure, again, you're hitting the subscribe button, hit the like button, and request notifications. And we will see you next time. Be blessed. Have a great one.
Bye.